And then I realized that as the chord changes go by, I just see like the notes on the neck change.
That right there is 10,000 universes of gold. That quick little understanding. Let's really unpack this. So this is a concept I've referred to as fretboard reconfiguration. Okay, so we introduced this in the last video, but this is going to go much deeper in this video because this is honestly the central thesis of the Allan Holdsworth lesson, this idea of fretboard reconfiguration. Okay, so here's an example for you, right? Look at this fretboard, A tonic minor. Okay, every single note on this fretboard is A tonic minor. Now listen to this Allan Holdsworth quote.
When I think of that scale, I think of it as it starts at the lowest available note on my instrument, which would be an E, and the highest available note, which would be another E, the high E.
He sees the entire fretboard as available to him, every part of it, right? And you'll also recall that Allan Holdsworth uses the term juggling.
So it's just up to me to juggle the notes around and improvise and make melodies out of them.
What he's referring to is when he sees the entire fretboard being available to him, he's just juggling all the different combinations that he can possibly fathom within this fretboard configuration here, right? Now here's the thing. When the chord changes, the entire fretboard changes.
I just see like the notes on the neck change.
So here's an example of that, right? Here would be a chord change, E7. Look, now the fretboard is E7. Every single note on this fretboard will give the sound and function of E7. Unspoken massive factor is you're thinking about this rhythmically, and with that rhythmic intention, you are juggling all the possible notes on each fretboard configuration. But here is the key moment of musical mastery that Allan Holdsworth is one of the best in all of history at, specifically the skill of reconfiguring the fretboard from here to here at the exact moment that the chord changes. And what happens is, at that moment that the chord changes and the fretboard is reconfigured, this fretboard configuration slams into this fretboard configuration. And that concept is voice leading. But Allan Holdsworth doesn't think about it as voice leading. He's just thinking about it as what is the closest note from this configuration to this configuration at the moment that the configuration changes. Okay, let's look at some simple examples. Playing on the transition. See how I'm voice leading from this configuration to this configuration. What that really looks like is, for example, the C on the A minor, voice leading to the B on the E7, right? Any of the notes that move by half steps that trigger that harmonic shift, that's what you're looking for. And Allan Holdsworth understood this completely intuitively. Completely intuitively. I said in the last video, right? He came up under a musician, his father, great musician, right? His father was just subconsciously feeding him all these unexplainable things. Like, for example, chord functions, voice leading, like first principle musical concepts that Allan Holdsworth didn't even realize that he fully comprehended when he was coming up with all of this crazy convoluted scale mentality stuff, right? He already had the ears. He already had the ears. That's why when he plays a million notes, it literally doesn't sound like rambling. He's playing a million notes because he hears every single subdivision as corresponding to a specific note. His ears clock all of that. And so the lesson we're extracting here is that if we can train our ears through that first principle voice leading, right? What note from this fretboard configuration is gonna connect to this fretboard configuration by half step, ideally. Now, if you really wanna master this concept of fretboard reconfiguration, this concept of voice leading, the Holdsworthian master mentality, if you wanna clock this thing all the way deep, That's my free course. My free course is 100% based on Allan Holdsworth concept of fretboard reconfiguration, but I tie it into triads. I start it on triads, and then I show you fretboard reconfiguration based on triads. That's my free course, a 15-minute course. This is the intro to fretboard mastery. If you're a dead serious masterful musician in training, this is going to be the biggest turbo boost you've absolutely ever freaking taken, I can tell you that much. Because you've never visualized the fretboard like this. Maybe you visualized it like this, right? I remember being in middle school, I would write out these diagrams. And so I suspect that to some extent, you actually have also thought about this exact concept. But the thing is, thinking about it like this is just way too much, right? That's not the best way to think about it, right? You're not prioritizing any parts of this. You're not prioritizing any note connections. You're not contextualizing it, right? You're not thinking of where is it coming from? Where is it going, right? Just seeing this is not enough. But seeing this, now it starts to make sense, right? And then the idea is you want to start to voice lead triads that go across the full range of the guitar from 5 chords to 1 chords, like this. A C major triad is the 5 of F minor, right? And then I go to the 1 of F minor through voice leading, aka fretboard reconfiguration. See what I just did there, right? That is Holdsworthian, right? I'm reconfiguring a singular region of the neck according to the harmonic rhythm, where C, for example, could have 4 beats like this, 1, a 2, a 3, and F could get 4, a 2, a 3. Now I keep it simple. Now, as sloppy as that was, especially for an Allan Holdsworth video, I'm gonna leave that all in because this is practice, okay? I never get too good for the practice, okay? Because this stuff is infinite when you're focusing on the rhythm. And that's what I'm doing. I'm focusing my attention on the rhythm, and I'm purposely pushing out my rhythmic imagination by keeping the triad as the main parameter that I'm using to connect this fretboard configuration to this fretboard configuration, because the first primary skill that Allan Holdsworth wants us to understand is this concept of fretboard reconfiguration according to harmonic rhythm. So the fretboard changes in time. And Allan Holdsworth tells us to think about juggling those notes. Every single thing that Allan Holdsworth has ever played has been 1000% deadlocked inside the grid. Okay, he's an extremely rhythmic musician, extremely rhythmic. Way more rhythmic than people even understand. So what you're gonna get in my free course, the Intro to Fretboard Mastery, is the rhythmic intention mentality that underpins all your practice. You need to see practice done in a rhythmic way, because that's just gonna put your focus on the right things, right? Rhythm has to be the guiding principle of all of your development. Otherwise, you're basically developing things in a vacuum. That's really what that is, right? The classic mistake that guitarists fall into is they develop harmonic vocabulary in a vacuum. But what you can do right now to save yourself at least 15 years of aimless practice is you can just get my free course to understand how to practice with rhythmic intention at every step of the way. How to map out the fretboard according to triadic voice leading with an underlying rhythmic intention. It's a 15-minute course. Best 15 minutes you'll ever invest in your guitar playing, because after you do that, you'll wake up out of whatever fog about music you're in now, and you'll have crystal clear clarity to move forward to the summit of Mount Everest. So get my free course, first link in the description, and I'll see you in the next Allan Holdsworth video, because there's at least going to be another 3 or 4 of these videos, maybe 5 or 6, because we're still only about 2.5 minutes in, and now this is the second breakdown video I've made on this classic Allan Holdsworth REH instructional. So anyway, leave all your comments, send the video, like the video, get the free course, and I'll see you soon.